We're at the Family Laundry Depot here in Oakland, and I promised I was washing the van, but I want to ask David a few questions about his experience with the e-Transit. David.
Go back to work.
Back to work. So this is one of 6 e-Transits you've got here, right?
That's right.
So can you tell people like what the story of getting the electric vans was? Like what the experience has been, ups and downs?
Initially we had a fleet of about 4 or 5 standard trucks, right? And in 2022, I believe, Ford came out with this model, the e-Transit, which is basically the same one we were using except electric. I was curious. It was the first purchase was mostly done out of curiosity, but we quickly found out that we were saving a ton of money, and we were reducing our carbon emissions just drastically. So recently did the calculations. Each of these vehicles saves us $10,000 of fuel costs a year, roughly. It's more like 9.5.
And that's in taking into consider the cost of charging and everything?
That's taking into consideration the cost of charging. And that equates to roughly 20 metric tons of CO2 emissions per year. So our fleet reduces our carbon emissions by about 100 tons a year.
Interesting. And so one thing that I think people always ask about is if I buy a bunch of e-trucks, am I going to end up stranded? Are my drivers going to be lost figuring out where they're going to get charged? What's your experience been? And also, what's your duty cycle? Like, what do you use these trucks for?
So we know from experience that each of our delivery trucks runs about 100 miles a day, right? So 3,000 miles a month. When these came out in 2022, the range was about 130 miles, I believe, for a single, till we get to 0. We have 2 charging cycles, one in the morning, or one in the afternoon rather, 12 to 5, and another cycle in the evening from 10 p.m. roughly to about 7 a.m. Between those 2 cycles, we have more than enough range for anything that we're doing.
So it's 100 miles a day over 2 cycles.
Correct. And
you charge in the middle of the day.
Yep.
So that's what you're setting up here with Port, where I know Jeff and Nadav are working on that first charging setup right now.
Yeah, so right now, we're working on our charging depot. This is going to be a massive improvement from what we have now, which is 4 ports on our standard charging at our laundromat's parking lot. Here, this is going to be a dedicated space for our fleet, our growing fleet. We're going to have room for 17 vehicles here, 15 level 2 chargers, and 1 DC fast chargers with 2 ports. And that is going to, reduce our costs even more because we'll be on a new plan with our utilities that'll be dedicated to EVs. And we're going to be able to generate eventually our own electricity. You see this roof here? We're about 7,000 square feet that we'll dedicate to solar panels. There will come a time where we can almost produce 100% of our energy here and reduce our costs even more. So just from a cost perspective, owning an EV delivery truck or cargo trucks makes a huge difference. And it feels good to be able to say we're reducing CO2 emissions by 100 tons or more per year.
Across the fleet, yeah.
Across the fleet.
Thank you.
Come on in. Another thing I may not have mentioned to you, Prescott, is the fact that these vehicles are just better to drive. Like the acceleration is faster than a traditional car. You have all this cool tech that navigation, parking, help. It's just the vehicles are just better. There's no way we could go back to what we were using before. We're also in a residential neighborhood, and the thought of scaling a fleet of say 15, 20 vehicles that run on gas, it just didn't sit well with me, and I'm sure it would upset a lot of our customers potentially. We are in the greater Fruitvale area of Oakland. It's a residential neighborhood. lots of small streets, a lot of kids going to school, a lot of people, a lot of pedestrians. The thought of having, 5, 10, 15 vehicles spewing fumes throughout the day in this neighborhood was not very appealing to us. And I have to say, it feels pretty good to be able to offer a better solution to the community, if that's how I can describe it. We're taking emissions, we're taking particles out of the air. We're making the air cleaner in this neighborhood. One van at a time. So that feels pretty good. Living in Oakland, you discover just how dirty the air is. You will come in after a couple days to your car and wipe your finger, and there's literally just dust covering it. And that's particulate. Look, like vehicles like this one, right, for example. We're in a residential neighborhood. You have diesel trucks running through here all day long. Just imagine how much cleaner and how much, how much better the quality of life would be if everything was electric, emissions free. It feels good to feel like we're part of a solution, even if it's at our scale, a small scale. I hope that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say. I hope that sharing widely, what we do with this EV fleet and the benefits that we're getting out of it. I hope that it can inspire many small businesses, not just in Oakland or in the Bay Area, but across the states, to get into the game and go electric, because it's good from a financial perspective, and it's great from just contributing to a better environment. All right.
So we can do it again.